Hello, hi, hey, welcome to my Unfiltered YouTube channel where you are encouraged to be the unfiltered version of yourself. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below so we can be free and unleashed together. Did you guys catch this news on Shirley Strawberry? Oh my goodness. I know I saw some of you in the comments on my last video. You guys took things too literal. It was figuratively speaking, which, by the way, it's all over the internet how Shirley Strawberry has become her own strawberry letter. So, needless to say, no intent on trying to get clickbait, because I don't necessarily create my videos for those purposes. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't, and I'm okay with it. But this time I'm gonna talk about the recent news. I know you guys have heard about it already. I know some people probably thought it was old news, but I was telling you guys that phone calls are still being released. New information is still coming out on this Shirley Strawberry story. It is not yet to be too late for anything, because this is going to be circulating around for a long while. And I kind of hate it for Shirley, because it just seemed like, man, she talks about a nightmare. I don't know what word would categorize something worse than a nightmare, but to me this is even worse than a nightmare. It's like when you're constantly, this is a nightmare, it ends, but this is going to hang with her for a while, I believe. You know, when you have your nightmare, you can at least wake up from it and snap into reality. This is just an ongoing thing for Shirley, and it does not get any better. If you haven't watched, there's actually been a few additional phone calls that phones from prison have uploaded on her channel, where you can hear Shirley talking. And to be honest, it's to the point where I don't really, in my opinion, I don't have to hear any more of those phone calls, because we pretty much got what we need from those phone calls. We know that Shirley was being naive. We know that she was being tricked, and it's kind of unbearable at this moment. It's very unbearable for me to listen at them talking. Like, I just, and I think a lot of people probably feel similar to that, but yet and still people are still tuning in and watching. But I'm probably not going to worry about going back. If there's more, I'm sure there's plenty other videos that she's going to post. But go over there and support her page, because she has done a great job shedding a lot of light on this Freedom of Information Act, and on, you know, the scheming stuff that her supposedly husband has been doing. So I say supposedly husband because the new news is that Ernesto was not even divorced. He was not divorced from his previous wife. Now, I didn't look into it in detail, do like research on him and all that, because my last video was coming from a different standpoint, where I wasn't really trying to dive into history on their actual relationship and the timeline and things like that. Had I probably looked into that, I probably would have came across something. Who knows? Because we have Miss Chronicle Speaks have created a video, like maybe when I watched it was like 8 hours after she had posted it, and then there are several other bloggers that are now within the last few hours post the video. So you can go to Chronicle Speaks page, because she actually has the documents that show and prove that Ernesto Williams was actually not divorced when he married Shirley. Oh, this is so bad. Like, ooh, what's Shirley gonna do now? I mean, she can't go on her strawberry letter segment now and continuously apologize. Like, this is just a lot. This guy was married to a said Martha Williams from, I believe it on her channel, she said like the early 2000s, and they were separated for a while, but they didn't officially get divorced until 2021. And Shirley and Ernesto, they actually got married in, I think, 2015. So she's been married 8 years to this guy who she's really not married with. That is crazy. So I'm gonna talk about what crime is now gonna be added onto Ernesto's list of crimes, and that is bigamy. So I did some little research here about bigamy. What happens if I married someone whose divorce was not final? Because I was interested to know, like, is Shirley gonna have to take some flack from him? You know, because they could say you should have done your due diligence and research. Really, they need to do this. They need to start maybe requiring, or even if they don't require, it's a best practice for everybody to do background checks nowadays before you even get in a serious relationship. Not even waiting to marriage, because sometimes you might date somebody for years. The way these dating things are going with these relationships, people are dating each other for years. You don't want to waste that many years on somebody who got all of this crazy stuff on their background. And it was said that Shirley knew. People were warning her, but of course, you know how it is when you be done found what you think that you found, and you're like standing by your man as if you're professing your love to him and your commitment to him and your loyalty to him, because she's late in age, and she was actually married before as well to her daughter's dad. And so finding a relationship again later in life that ends in a marriage, she probably was down for, you know, trying to bring it to fruition or make it better. But that's beside the point. So looking at what that crime is and how many years he can actually officially, I don't know how many years he'll have for the other crimes, but just looking at this one particular crime, how many years will Ernesto be possibly in jail for, in prison for committing this crime? So it says, is the new marriage valid? Each state has its own laws. They're in the state of Georgia, so Georgia is very strict when it comes to these things. So of course Georgia is very illegal. It's illegal to marry someone without officially getting a divorce. So getting married to someone before their divorce is final, even if you didn't know they were still married, constitutes bigamy. So that means both Ernesto, and I don't know why I'm just gonna call the man, I don't know, we might need to give him a nickname, Nesto or something. But Nesto and Shirley committed bigamy. Both of them committed bigamy. But here's the gist to it. Bigamy is a federal crime and is illegal in all states. However, certain states like Utah have very lax rules on bigamy. If you didn't know about your spouse's existing marriage, you wouldn't be in any direct violation of the law, but your spouse may be. So that kind of gives her a way out, because more than likely they're going to look at, okay, did you know? You know, if she hadn't known that he was married and still got married to him, then she would also be in trouble. Look how close this man is getting. He's getting Shirley mixed up in some stuff that nobody would ever dream for even their enemies to have to be mixed up in. Like, look how close he got her to. She actually committed bigamy without even knowing. Even though she's not gonna get convicted for it, she's not in direct violation of the law, it doesn't take away the fact that she committed bigamy. She married somebody who was already married, who wasn't, their divorce was not resolved, like their marriage was not resolved before they got married. Oh, so embarrassing. Because the new marriage is illegal, it is considered void in every state and cannot be annulled. So pretty much, there's even no, like when she went on the radio show and was saying that the divorce proceedings are in progress. Well, I guess those divorce proceedings are no longer in progress, because you have to have a marriage in order to have a divorce, and you can't even get it annulled because it's already null and void in every state of the United States, which they are in Georgia. Is the marriage valid? Each state has its own laws. Furthermore, if someone knows they are still married and willingly attempts to marry again, they will face fines and jail time. Usually there is no need to get a court order annulment, as the marriage is invalid from the start. So she doesn't even have to worry about, Lord, look at the God. God is blessing her. If we go back and write down all those different things Shirley and Ernesto was saying while they were on the phone calls in reference to God, you know, I think she was mentioning how God's gonna, you know, turn things around. And on that last call, when she was praying about him, you know, she's praying. We got to do better, y'all. Like, if you are a Christian and believer of God, we have to do better with our faith and how we choose to use that faith with things like this, because it just does not look good, especially if we're going to be disciples of Christ. It's going to be hard to be a disciple of Christ, and you're not going to be able to disciple anybody when they see how he used God's word to manipulate you. Like, you allowed somebody to use God's word to manipulate you. It is bad. Like, saying a prayer for this criminal who deserves to be locked up, talking about you hope that he gets all this stuff away from him. No, he needs to face accountability. He needs to face it, and he needs to go through it. So sometimes, like, it be like, do you really hear from God? Do you really go to God? Because goodness, that he has her looking all types of crazy up here, praying for him to get exonerated, like he's finna get delivered, like he didn't do any wrong, you know. So that's why in my last video I say, yeah, we can point the finger at him, but she has to take some faults for that, because there's no way he can just do all of that manipulation by himself. She allowed him to manipulate her, or she allowed him to get away with doing a lot of stuff, because a lot of people were warning her. But you know how it is, you can't warn somebody who think they found love. It's just almost like they're gonna even try harder to prove you wrong. It feel like they try to make it you against them, against the world, and that's exactly like, it just be like the perfect situation for somebody who is a manipulator and a con artist like Ernesto, because they take that to their advantage. They know how females will, you know, certain females, they ride or die and stuff like that, all that ride or die stuff. I'm not riding or dying for somebody who's wrong. We might need to take a page from Phaedra Park's book. Shirley might need to take a page from Phaedra Park's book. I know a lot of people might have given her backlash when she decided to do what she did, when Apollo decided to do what he did. I mean, the disrespect in my opinion, when you have a family, you have a wife and kids, and you choose to go out there and go back to your crime, whatever you're doing out there, to jeopardize your time with your family and your kids, I would feel like Phaedra felt. Like, I would honestly probably feel like, because I'll feel like the disrespect, I'll feel like all the different things like you're doing, there's no way you're treating me right when you go out and do something like that. It'll be a lot of stuff that, yeah. So a lot of people are giving Phaedra Parks a whole bunch of slack for marrying Apollo when he was, you know, an ex-criminal, but she surely wasn't gonna take it after he tried it again after they were married. But Shirley, on the other hand, she took a different approach. She was like standing by him even when she knew the guy was getting locked up. He was getting locked up. He got locked up 3 times during their marriage. 3 times. And how every single time now this guy get locked up, you believe him when he say he didn't do it, or whatever story he comes up with. So she has to be held accountable for this, and we can all learn from this. Ladies, we can learn from this. Like, we have to be careful out here. All types of stuff going on. Somebody is an ex-criminal, or even if they're not a criminal and they do something and they drag you in there. You know, if you haven't watched Simone from Ready to Love season 3, 4, because they kind of swapped up the seasons, watch her show, because she has a YouTube channel, and I actually did another video. There's a lot of videos about her recent engagement to Rashid. She does a Girl That's Legal, where she encourages females to do a background check. Maybe she need to kind of take over that segment. Maybe it should be a Girl That's Legal segment on Steve Harvey's show, and let Simone come on there and kind of help out with putting out the word that we need to forget the strawberry letter. We need to start doing some Girl That's Legal. So Simone, that'd be something for you to, I would actually call Steve Harvey or whoever his management team is and say, hey, can we switch this strawberry letter to girl, is that legal? Because this strawberry letter thing is just not gonna, every time people listen to this strawberry letter, they're gonna be thinking about her situation. So for the one, I don't know who was it that commented down in my last video who says that this is late, this is old news. Oh, it's not gonna be old news for a long time, because every time people hear a strawberry letter, what are they gonna think about? I'm like, they're still doing a strawberry letter? We need to switch that to girl, is that legal? So y'all go to Simone's page. I'm gonna actually link it down below, because I think that might be the better segment now that we get into all this legal stuff. We need to all learn about these laws. We need to be up on our game, so we need to actually connect with Simone and some of these other attorneys and lawyers who can walk us through all this different stuff that we need to start being aware of, because look at here, they can drag you down to the jail. Oh my goodness. Got this lady, this older lady, committing bigamy without even knowing, and she's never had run-ins with the law. That's why I personally say, guys, this is my opinion. I know some people love that love and lockup stuff. With Shirley, she wound up being the highlight of that show, might as well say. Without her even being aware, she in love and while locked up. All this love while locked up stuff, it's not what it is. No. Those people who be locked up in jail, they don't have anything else to do. They don't have anything else to do. A lot of them wind up diving into the Bible, but really honestly not diving into the Bible because they don't have anything else to do. So then they come out like these born again Christians. I'm not talking down on the fact that they could possibly be born again Christians, but I'm just giving you a perspective on what is happening that we just got to be careful with, because as believers, somebody can quote the scripture, talk good on, because they done spent like time in jail, probably like years, and so they don't have anything else to do but to read the Bible. So they don't quote it, they probably don't memorize a lot of those scriptures, and then when they come out and they start quoting it, it makes them appear this and this and that, but really not so. And they could very well still have that criminal mind, like you can hear on those phone calls. And Nerso is using, it's very evident that he is using, because sometimes he be saying different things about God, and it'd be like, okay, what you talking about? She just told you about this, and this is what you say. So it kind of is his tactic to kind of get her to calm down, to kind of talk her off the ledge, to kind of make her feel like they're in that together and it's them against the world, Bonnie and Clyde. Oh my goodness, like, it's crazy, y'all. I hate that she have herself in that situation, but good Lord Almighty, I would not want to be in her shoes ever, especially at that age. Oh no. This will let us wake up. We're gonna be looking at all these males differently now. So guys, if these females start looking at you sideways, you know why. It's because of what this Shirley stuff is happening, is going on, and making people more alert and on their feet. They're not gonna just take it lying down like Miss Shirley did and having us committing bigamy. You tell me that you're not married? She probably wouldn't have ever thought to ask this guy, this grown man, whether or not he's still married. Who goes out here and dating somebody and think in their mind that you got to ask somebody if they're still married? But it seems like it's a question that we need to start asking these guys. Are you married? A lot of people are dating while they're separated. There's another, I want to share some information about that just to make you more aware and more cautious. I personally would not advise anybody to date while separated, because it could possibly lead to something like that. That you might think they get a divorce and then they don't, and then you wind up thinking, or it could hold you off from getting married. If you want to get married to this person, they're never going to be able to marry you until their divorce is final. So why are you there? You're going to be standing there waiting? Like, no, we don't wait Like, you should already have your stuff together when you're getting in a relationship. Your stuff needs to be all the way together, or you just don't need to be in a relationship. You need to figure fixing yourself up before you get out here and get in relationships. That's just my opinion. Everybody have their own way of doing it. That's their own prerogative. Alright, so let's see what else is saying about this divorce, and then I'm going to move on to talk about, dating people before they're divorced. And because there's a lot of people out here, they might be turning their nose down or up at Shirley and Ernesto's situation, but they're not that far from it themselves, because they're dating somebody who's separated. I don't care if the person been separated for years and years and years and never plan on coming back. Why not go ahead and go down there to the courthouse and fill out a paperwork to divorce before you actually marry, or before you actually engage in a relationship with somebody else? Like, to me, it's just messy and entangled, all different things entangled in there. So many states don't recognize common law marriages, so we can't even recognize that. So I'm not going to even worry about mentioning that, because that's not really what we're talking about here. So can I get in trouble? So this is the question that Shirley is probably asking herself. Oh my goodness, he had me committing bigamy. Can I get in trouble even if I didn't know before the marriage? She probably should have asked her attorney that. So the answer to that is no. If you truly didn't know the person you were married was still married, you have nothing to fear. However, you do have a lot to fear. Shirley does. I mean, she doesn't have to fear getting in trouble, but I mean, this is like the utmost humiliation she can ever think of or dream of in her life. So there is something to fear, but she has God on her side, so we'll just lift her up in prayers. But however, if you try to stay married to that person, you run the risk of being charged with bigamy. Now, if there's no way. Like, I know. No way she's gonna try to stay married to that man. If anything, she probably be jumping up and down right now, because she ain't even got to worry about trying to scrape up money to pay a lawyer to do a divorce. And the thing about it is, I want to mention that his previous divorce, on the paperwork, if you go to Chronicle Speaks YouTube channel, she shows all the paperwork and go through them. You can see, like, on there's a part where you list what you're gonna take a part of the debt of your marital whatever. And so he actually had some liens, because on there it says that his ex-wife said that he's gonna be responsible to pay for his liens. So that means he already was in some trouble when he was dating, because this was in 2021 that it actually they filed twice, but this was earlier, but it was still during the time that, and even if it was before the time that him and Shirley came in together, those liens probably were still on his record. And so what happens. Go to Simone Red Wine's YouTube channel. Girl, Is That Legal? She talks about that a lot on there when she does the background checks on whoever calls in. She'll do a free background check on whoever you want her to do a background check on, which more than likely it'd be mostly females calling in about a guy that they're dating. And there's been some that have found that the person that they're dating has liens on his record. So what she was sharing, which I didn't even know, because if you're not a part of this legal law life and all of this stuff, crime and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that we just don't know as common people that's just trying to live a normal life. We're not out here just searching for crime and trying to figure out what it is going on. But if you marry somebody who owe money, like child support, liens on their account, when y'all marry, you now become also responsible of those liens. So I can only imagine that Shirley probably was shocked when she got married. That's why you need to do a background check. Do a background check, and if they got something on their account like that, that means they don't need to be in a relationship. You don't need to be considering dating them, marrying them, because now you're putting yourself in the negative. You're going to lose that money because you're going to have to pay. Because if they ain't paying it, they're going to be looking at you to pay it. If they don't pay it, they're going to be looking at the spouse to pay it, because y'all money are now marital funds, like marital whatever. I'm not into law, but I just watch a lot of court shows, and then I love watching different things about the law. And so I've heard that on some of those shows I watch. But guys, that is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Alright, so then it says, even if you suddenly find yourself committing bigamy, all you have to do is get the charge dropped, is to annul the marriage or divorce the other person. So in order for her to get the charge dropped against her, you know, for the fact that she possibly intentionally committed bigamy, which I'm sure it can be proven that she did not, because she does not know, she can get the charges dropped and annul the marriage or divorce the other person. But really and technically, you really can't annul or divorce the other person because you're not even married. Your marriage was illegal. So often bigamy occurs because one person was married in another country, not his case, moves to the United States, not his case, and then gets married later. What has happened for him, a lot of these criminals, I don't know if many people know, if you don't really or haven't experienced or know or heard stories about these criminals, what they do, a lot of them, they be moving from city to city to city to city. So that can be another sign to look at, you know, for the possibility, okay, why are you moving? Why are you moving from this city to this city? Because they might have a warrant out on their arrest in one town, and then for some reason they running around so they can't really find them. And you'll be surprised at how many people have warrants out on them, and they're just hopping around trying to hopscotch around those warrants. And I believe that's probably, if I were to look into it, which I don't really have that connection to look into it, and I don't really go into deep, but if somebody who has that access can look into those legal documents to see what exactly it was that he was arrested for those 3 times during their 8-year marriage, I'm just going to speculate that it might have been that he might have had some unfinished warrants in another place that he used to live, and he's moving all over town, and he didn't take care of those warrants or whatever the stuff that he had to kind of take care of. Because in one of those phone calls, Shirley was telling him that when he gets out, which we know that's not going to happen, when he gets out, he need to take care of his business. Like, she still was willing to be with this man knowing that he got all of that to take care of, like, and he done put you through all of this, you paying all your money. Let's not be that desperate to be with a man. It's not the end of the world if you don't get married. It's not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. Because look at how much stuff she's going through. Like, I would rather live my life peaceful and single than to be dealing with this that she's dealing with, and have, just for the sake of saying that you have a man. Well, I don't want no good at man, so I'd rather be single. Alright, so that's enough of the bigamy. And actually on Google, I think it says he could serve from 2 to 10 years, which really I feel like they should try to, there should be something else they can add in on that, because he done did a lot to Miss Shirley. He done did a lot. He needs to probably, you know, so he's going to at least serve some time in jail just for that. And there's probably plenty other things that he's done. There's a lot of other people that said that he tried to con them. They were trying to message her on Instagram. And of course, you know, people aren't going to listen because he's going to be in her ear telling her, oh, they're just saying that. And she going to believe him. But let's not be fools in love. Like, let's not be fools that fall in love with these guys and believe their every living word. And then the facts are stacked against him, but he's somehow able to let her know differently or make her believe differently. So now enough of the bigamy. So now what can so 7 reasons why you should not date during divorce, or maybe wait until divorce is final, because a lot of people don't want to do that. There's a lot of people out here married and they're separated. However way they're separated, some of them, they still living together, but they're living in separate rooms, so they consider that as separated. Some people actually live in separate homes and they're separated. But needless to say, you're still married. Until you get that divorce paper, you're still married. That's probably what a nurse was doing. They were living separately, but he didn't follow through with getting the paper signed. So you could wind up being in a situation like this, especially if you move, you hop around, probably like how he did. The new person you meet if you don't tell them, and if they don't ask, because not many people think to ask, are you married? Because you would assume that if this person's out here dating, they're not married. That's just like a given that most people think, but we can't do that anymore. We gotta actually ask these people if they're married, because they could have moved all over town and you don't even know them, and you don't even know to ask, are you married? But yeah, so number one, the reason why you should not date while you are still married, and you should actually wait until you get divorced. So it could take longer to finalize your divorce. When you're out here dating, whatever the case may be that caused you and your ex-spouse to split up, you know, sometimes feelings are still involved. You know, some people, they're separated, but they have the feeling that maybe we can separate and then we can get back together. So sometimes you have one party where they think, oh, we're just separated for now, but we're gonna get back together. But then the other person might be like, we're separated and we're getting a divorce. So they be out here still, you know, starting talking, engaging to other people. The other person over there might get upset, and they might make your divorce a little bit more difficult, especially if you have kids, you know. So all types of stuff can go involved, and so you want to settle the divorce without trying to upset or anger the other person as much as you can. You want to just get that divorce done, and then you can go out here and live your life free. But why in the world you want to play around and be separated and not have your divorce final? Like, there's a big risk with that. Number two, it could jeopardize your divorce settlement. So if you're in Texas, the judge will consider a couple legally married until the divorce decree is signed, sealed, and delivered. An affair either party has prior to the divorce been finalized could be considered adultery. There are some states that actually look at adultery. They actually look very harsh on it. It used to be a point where you would actually, I think, I can't say or not say, but I think that you back in the times, you probably could have served some time for committing adultery. So, which could support a fault-based judgment against the adulterer, since the adulterer is one of the seven grounds for divorce in Texas. The issue here is that questions could be raised as to whether community funds are being used to pay for entertainment, gifts, loans, or trips for a lover, leaving your subject to a reimbursement or waste claim. So you using your, like how Wendy Williams' husband was using all her money, splurging it on his side chick. In some states, it says like Texas, it's possible that you can get a reimbursement for all of the money that your spouse was spending on another person outside of your marriage. If the judge finds that misuse of community monies has occurred, your spouse could be awarded a large portion of the community estate when all is said and done. Now, in some cases, I don't know why, but I guess it's just different rules in different states. And so this says specifically in Texas, and I'm not a lawyer, not an attorney. I'm just reporting what I have found. Now, it would be nice there's a lot of attorney YouTubers out here. This would be a nice story to cover, because this would be great information for people to know about, you know, factually. You know, I'm doing my best to provide as much facts as I can, but I can't go into details because I don't have that expertise. But I'm just reporting the information that I have researched. So number three reason why you should wait until you're divorced before you start dating: it could intensify the angst your children are feeling. So if you have kids, you know, go ahead and go through that divorce, because they might feel like y'all are going to get back together, you know. So you're just it's like sending mixed signals to your kids, you know, giving them false hope. And we don't like that when we're in a relationship. You don't want somebody to give you false hope. It's kind of like you're playing with their emotions. You're tiptoeing around it. It's best to just cut it dry and just go ahead and get it done. Like if y'all are no longer together, most of the time when people separate, they're going to get a divorce. So don't have this drawn out separation. Do your best to get your divorce. And I know there's some circumstances where people, it's hard for them to get a divorce for whatever reason. The person moves, you can't find them. And that was similar to what Ernesto did. He was moving and she couldn't find him. So she had filed it twice. She filed it the first time, and then you got to go through all this paperwork to show that you're trying to find him. You got to show that you did due diligence to find him, because they'll let you still file it if the person didn't sign, and even if the person don't appear to court. If you file it uncontested, I mean, you showed your due diligence, they'll still grant you your divorce. In some states, though, I know in Georgia they will. I'm not sure about the other states, because every state have their own laws. Number 5, it could cost you more to get divorced. Whenever you do anything that complicates or drags out to your divorce, that counts years. Like, think about that. Still, you could say, okay, we were married for 4 years, we were separated for 6 years. That's going to still be a total of 6 years of marriage, and they probably could get alimony or whatever for that. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just assuming and using what I'm seeing here to try to give an idea of what possibly could happen. Again, different states, different laws. Number 6, it could hamper your ability to heal. So if you're trying to really move on, why not just go ahead? Because when you get that divorce, that is like done deal. That's on paper. Now, if you choose to still fool around with that person, then that's just you. But at least if you choose to fool around with somebody else, you're not dragging them in between y'all, the mess that you already got going on. You should at least respect them enough to at least have your stuff off and done with before you involve them in there. And then the last one here is that it could cause undue stress for the person you date. Especially, because now they're going to be wondering, like, okay, when are you going to get this divorce? When are you going to get this divorce? And then you have some people who never intend on getting a divorce. There are some out here. There's a lot of them out here. They will stay married and separated all the time, forever. Because they might say, well, I'm not planning on getting a divorce. So in the meantime, they still married. They out here dating. And then the person that they're dating just got to settle with the fact that we ain't getting married, because we can't get married because this person is not divorced yet. And most people, want to get married or some form of recognition that they're together. I don't know why anybody would want to be in a long-term relationship with someone who is yet to be divorced from their previous spouse. So this is a story that keeps on giving. And I know it's very embarrassing looking at those pictures, knowing that Ernesto came on the radio show to propose to Shirley, and people probably like, oh, we're happy for her, oh, we're happy. And then for it to turn out like this, Steve Harvey walked Shirley down the aisle. That has to be embarrassing for him, because if he's anything like me, I don't like to be involved in crazy stuff like that. Like, it would kind of ruffle me a little bit. So he might be like, man, you had me walking you down this aisle with this man, and y'all weren't even married, so we just went to a fake marriage. All of that stuff, all that money, she just blew her money away on something that wasn't even real. It was might as well be just like a party. They just had a party pretty much. And I don't know how much she paid for that marriage. I don't know how much did she pay. So let's see if I can catch online how much Shirley paid for her wedding. Actually, I shouldn't say marriage. So it says the average cost. That's not correct. That's money that she could have right now. And but that was last week. This is something else. So if her wedding ring, they say her wedding ring. So she told her nurse that she might move to Los Angeles after losing everything, including her home, car, and $200,000 wedding ring. So if her wedding ring was $200,000, there's no telling how much her wedding cost. there's no telling how much her wedding cost. And got all these pictures. It's just something, guys. Like, this should be like a monumental thing that's put up in everybody's mind, and we should always try to revisit this, not for the sake of embarrassing her anymore, but this just serves as a good lesson for us out here dating. Things are just crazy out here that people do stuff like this. This is just crazy. But what do you guys think in the comments below? And hopefully you won't get confused about my title for this one. But yeah, so we can't take things so literally out here, you know. It's been said everywhere, and I just decided to say that she received the strawberry letter from jail because her husband is in jail. He's actually the strawberry letter, it's metaphorically speaking, but a lot of people didn't, you know, tune into that. Now, I appreciate you guys for thinking that I might have that type of scoop without you actually hear it on the radio before I would be able to say, because they do the strawberry letter on the radio every morning, and there's no way that I would know it before they do it on the radio. I don't have the inside scoop like some of these YouTubers do. I just report on what I feel can be a great lesson to us all, and kind of give a perspective maybe that some may not have presented, to get you to look at things differently. And I accept all comments, whether you like the reviews or not, because I can't tell you one way or another. So to me, it's just like, okay, you know, either you like it or you don't. That's fine by me, because this is the Unfiltered channel where I encourage everybody to be their unfiltered self. So let's unleash it in the comments, whether you like it or not. What are the comments that you have on this situation with Shirley Strawberry? Now we know not even her husband, Ernesto Williams. Like, comment, and subscribe below.